All right, so we're recording this in case someone couldn't make the live interactive class, but obviously the interactive class, you guys are going to get the benefit of asking any questions and me going over anything that you want to go over. And like I was saying, just chime in, unmute yourself, and ask the question if you have a question, and I'll try to pause and give you guys chances to do that as well. If there's anything that you want to see, I can stop everything that I'm showing and show that. That's not a problem. Like I said, I want to be able to show something different each of these classes. Since we are recording it, I don't want to end up just showing the same thing over and over and over. I want you guys being able to see something different and get the most out of this as you can. I do want to say I appreciate you guys sticking with the school and supporting the school by continuing to make your payments, and I'm trying to provide as much value as I can given the circumstances. Still want to give out those private lessons for anyone who's not able to train as on these days that we're not able to come into the school, and again, reward you for still supporting, which is awesome. I really, really appreciate it. So if you guys don't have anything particular that you want to go over, something that I wanted to talk about and go over is, it in a way can be a way to help you learn quicker and learn jiu-jitsu over the big picture better. And what that is more thinking in terms of principles. And I'll try to give a few examples. I have a couple in mind, but it's not the only ones that work this way. And that's just using something that I teach, not thinking of it as a specific move per se, but more or less how that thing can be used across the board. And I'm going to give a couple specific examples, and then hopefully you can take that into the more general sense. And when I'm teaching a move, you can say, oh, well, that could apply to this guard pass, or this, I could do this sweep in every single type of guard. Like, try to think of those principles. And so I think an easy one to kind of demonstrate that is the collar chokes, the gi chokes, and how those work, because there's so many different chokes, it could get overwhelming, but really they all follow the same principles. And that's what I want you guys to kind of understand, and I want it to make sense for you. So let's start out with, I guess from mount would be a good spot. So Rita, just put your head. That way a little bit.
Right here?
Yes. Okay. All right. So from the mount, and I want to do a collar choke. Actually, let's scoot this way. A lot. Yes. How's that? Everyone see good? Thumbs up. Okay. So from the mount, we're going to go cross collar choke. So the basic choke, I put my hand in. I go deep as I can to the collar. Sometimes we gotta, when they're in the mount, sometimes we'll lift up, and just so we can take up some of that slack. My hand is underhand, and I'm using the ridge of my hand. The bone here is going right against the artery on the side of her neck. And that's why we need to be underhand, and I want that bony part, because that's what's gonna press against the artery on this side, okay? On the other side, I can go under. If I go under my own arm, I go underhand. If I go over, I go overhand. In either case, the bony part of the wrist is what's touching the neck, because on chokes, we need to block both arteries, right? So we go underhand, underhand, and now I have both sides. She's already ready to tap. I would put my head on the floor. I'll just demonstrate the move. I'm not going to choke her too much. And I pull my elbows towards the ceiling. Very important on this choke. Remember, we're not talking about the move, but I'm going to talk about the move a little bit. But the main idea is the principle, right? So the elbows close to the ribs, sliding against the ribs like I'm doing a back row, but not with my elbows out, right? With my elbows tight. And what that's doing is just keeping me in a stronger position, which is another principle, keeping me in a stronger position so that way I'm not using a lot of effort to do the choke. Same thing if I went overhand. I'm just using this bone instead of the other bone. My head's going to go on the side of whatever arm is on top, and I pull. A little bit of a wrist flex just to make sure the wrist bone is in the neck. But But the idea is on a choke that we're blocking both sides of the neck. That's the theme on every single choke. So if you're doing a move, a choke, and you're having trouble with it, you always want to double check if you're actually putting pressure on the arteries, okay? For example, later, we'll go over the darce. The darce, I have my forearm on one side of her neck, but her shoulder is what's pressing on the other side. We need to make sure that's happening, okay? So let's do this from the guard. So from the guard, everything's the same, okay? I'm literally in the mount position. I'm just on my back, okay? So when I go for the collar choke, everything's the same. Hand underhand.
You're still on top. All right, guys.
Hold on. What's
You
wrong?
guys are still on top. Okay,
Oh.
guys, now we're switching to the bottom.
Okay. Okay, so back up.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
All right, guys.
Okay, so that was collar choke from the mount, collar choke from the guard. Same principle, right? I'm literally in the same position. I have the mount, except I'm on my back, right? That's what's so good about the guard. If you think about it, you're literally in the same position that you would be if you had the mount, okay? The only thing you're lacking is a little bit of leverage from being on top, but you're also limiting theirs because you have your legs wrapped around. So same choke, same hand, just so you can see how everything's the same. Deep as I can, I open the lapel, feed this underhand, and I make sure the bone is right against her neck. On the other side, I can go underhand, under my own hand. I pull my head towards the side of the top arm, elbows sliding past my ribs. Everything's the same, okay? I can do that also overhand. This goes under. If I go over my arm, I would do it overhand. 4 fingers, grab a wrinkle, and now my head goes to this side because that's where the top hand is. And I pull elbows past the ribs. You see they tap early, but it's not because I'm going like this. That can bother them. It could even choke them, but I'm also using a lot of energy. I want to bring my arms to a strong position. We're carrying something heavy, we hold it close to us. We don't hold it way out. We don't have our elbows out because we would get tired. Okay? What's that? Sean. Oh, that's fine. That's fine.
You gotta open it or
no? No, it happens by itself. And we'll keep him muted unless he unmutes himself. I'll give you guys a chance to do that from the guard.
So now get him inside the guard and do the choke, guys.
Can you see us?
Yes.
Yes. I'm watching everybody do it. Can you see? You want to do it, Juan, and I'll watch? Yeah, pull past your ribs, Brody. Pull your ear all the way up to his ear, Juan. Put like you're trying to listen to his ear. Yeah. Yep. Nice. Okay, that makes sense for everybody, right? So it's the same exact thing from mount as it is from guard. None of that has changed. we're using our wrist bone underhand with the first hand pretty much every time. And then the second hand, that's where we can do some variations. That first hand, I consider the choking arm. A lot of times the other side would be the anchor. Hold on one sec. Sean says, hello and thanks to everyone. Hello to everyone and hope you're safe. Thanks. Okay. So now that we got that, anyone have questions? No? Okay. So the next thing is using that principle for the other chokes. This is what is where it's going to start to open things up, and hopefully you start to understand how the principle is the same. So I'm going to pull your gi out, face me. So lapel choke. On the last choke, we use the collar, right? But my wrist bone is what's against the neck. On the lapel choke, if I have guard, I'm just gonna sit up to make it easier to show this. Actually, that's the camera. All right, so on a lapel choke, I would sit up, I would pass, and this could be from the mount too. We just saw it's the same. I pass the lapel under the arm to the other side, okay? So it's under her armpit, wrapped around to the other side. The hand that was underhand, holding the collar, that goes to the same spot. I'm just putting the lapel into my hand. It's the same choke, I'm just holding something different, okay? On the other side, I could go underhand or I could go overhand. The reason I probably wouldn't go underhand is because I want to hold the same piece that I pass to the other side, and it's difficult to reach that. But if I go overhand, I can grab the same piece. If you turn your back to them, if I pass this to the other side and I'm holding it, that's the same piece that I want to hold, right? Because that's where all the tension is. So I'll grab overhand with 4 fingers, okay? My choke is still just like the collar choke was. I'm just holding something different. Underhand, overhand, 4 fingers, and then I would pull the elbows to the ribs and get the choke. My wrist bone was on one side, my wrist bone on the other, okay? So from guard, so you break their posture, and then I pass this. Hopefully it's sneaky enough that they don't notice you did that. I try to hold them down so they feel like, I try to hold them down with my hands so they feel like that's how I'm holding them down. I don't want them to feel like I'm holding them down with the lapel because it makes it more obvious, right? When they start to go up, that's when I pass the lapel to my hand. You can open your guard and step on the hips to move your hips around, but what I want to do is wrap overhand, 4 fingers in the lapel, and then I squeeze. Okay? A little bit of a wrist, double wrist curl like this, but mostly the elbows passing my ribs. It's the same choke as the collar chokes. We're just using the lapel. Okay? So let's try that one. Let's try that one. That one's going to be pretty much the same thing. You're going to see that the principle is the same. It's not different. We're just going and holding the lapel. Okay?
Alex, the corner of the lapel.
So when I grab the lapel, I'm going to move this way. That's the camera. I move this. I pull out all the slack. You hear the snap, right? So I pop it so there's no wrinkles and slack because I need this to go as far as I can. See, there's a lot hanging out. What I'm going to do is I'm going to place my hand right against her neck, and I'm going to kind of let out the slack. I drag it. I actually want to grab inside my own grip. Arsenio.
You gotta go this way so you can see it. Your back's in the much.
Inside my own grip.
Hi, Arsenio.
Arsenio, what's up? There's a mute and an unmute, so if you have a microphone, we can hear you or not hear you, depending on what you press.
Or no?
I can hear you. I can hear you now because
Okay, good.
I unmuted you. Everyone who joins in is muted, and then I can change it.
Okay.
Cool. So if you have any questions, unmute yourself and ask it. I was getting some feedback earlier, so that's why I muted everybody. But you can unmute yourself if you have a question.
Yeah, it took me a minute to figure this out.
Yeah, it should be easy now that the software is downloaded.
Okay, cool.
Yep. Cool, cool. All right, I'm gonna mute you.
You got it?
Okay. So from the mount, that would be the same thing, right? So a little harder to get this one from the mount because I'm trying to pass something under her, but we can still do it. I have the mount. I go for like a head and an arm, but when I do that, I can pass the gi. Remember, we got to make sure that there's no slack. So I pull that tight, let my hand slide a little, come through here, punch the ground underhand, passing the gi to my own hand. Okay? When this hand comes around, now grab the gi, head goes to the mat, and choke. Same as when I have the guard. Okay? So same choke, but also the same principle as the collar choke. Arsenio, what you missed was we're talking about learning jiu-jitsu as in like a format, as like everything's a principle. Instead of learning one technique and just trying to remember that technique, and then I show another technique and somehow it looks different to you, you could think of the techniques as how they're similar. So that way, when I teach you one thing, you actually learn 5, 6, 7 other things because it's the same thing coming from different positions. So the collar choke, where I use my wrist bone here, and I hold the collar, and then underhand on the other collar, but it's also my wrist bone touching your neck, and I choke, is the same as if I did it overhand. Whether I do that from the guard or the mount, it's the same. And whether I use the lapel, it becomes a lapel choke, but I'm still choking with my wrist bone and my wrist bone. I'm just holding something different. And that can be from the mount or the guard as well. So that's kind of what we're going over, is the principles of these techniques. So if I show you maybe a sweep, you can look at how that sweep is the same as other sweeps from other guards using the same principles.
Yes,
Okay.
Alex. He raised his hand.
Okay.
Yes, Alex, what's up?
Hey,
Oh, there we go. Yeah, I see the hand raise thing. Okay, cool.
Quick question.
Yeah.
Is there a good way or a better way to get the second hand in? I find that I play the slap hand game a lot, where I try to get, so I've got the gi or the gi around for the Bravo, or I've just got inside collar, and I'm trying to feed this other hand, and it's just, it's easy to slap it away. Is there a good way to do it?
Yeah, the underhand grip is a good one for that because it's hidden, right? I'm sliding under my own, so it's kind of hard to block it. But on some of these other ones where you have to grab overhand, that does become an issue, which actually goes into our next choke. So if I'm going here, and so underhand is not an option really here because I can't push my hands back far enough. You guys can see this good, right? Yeah. Okay. So I want to grab overhand. And now she has a chance to defend because she obviously feels this. This is a big threat, right? So she grabbed me, and so then it keeps getting blocked. What I like to do is I grab this sleeve, I pull it across, and then I'm going to bring my chest up to her tricep. Now I just pull my right hand. She's tapping.
Oh, wow.
So the same principle now, right? I wanted my wrist bone against her neck. She's not allowing me to get a grip there so I can put the pressure. So instead, when I drag her arm, her shoulder goes into her neck. So now that's what's applying the pressure. So this is like the Bravo choke. Okay? So I go here, I'm getting blocked. I just grab the wrist, I pull. I could probably tap her here, take some strength. So I'm gonna put my chest instead and then pull. I'm not even using my hand anymore. Okay? So that would be your next step, right?
Yeah. You're not here.
That's getting blocked, and we pull that across. And actually, that's my favorite choke to do. I'll go for the lapel choke, and I know they're going to defend. In fact, I'll kind of struggle on purpose because what I really want is that hand to come up so I can drag it. Okay? Let's do the Bravo. So the Bravo was the next one I wanted to show, so that was a good question. So when I'm in here, a lot of times you'll do this one from this one. So this line is where the head has to be. From like a half guard. And so first thing I need to do on the half guard is kind of control. I need to get low. I don't want them to have an underhook, so I keep my elbows tight and I slide under. When I do, I pass that lapel. Okay? And this hand goes under the head. This is normal in a half guard. They expect that. So stay sideways. They expect that. So when I come under here and pass that, they don't think nothing of it, right? And I'll even flatten them. Now they want to turn sideways. So when they turn sideways, that's when I can pass the lapel. Okay? From here, it's a little bit better angle to reach for this gi. And I could do that same choke. Okay? I could. I don't have to pull this arm across. We talk about in class a lot, they get the overhook, underhook, and then I overhook it and all this stuff. You actually don't have to do all that. That's how I teach it, because I'm trying to teach what they're supposed to do and what we can do. I'm trying to teach more than one thing at once. So I like to demonstrate it that way. But I could literally just come under here, pass the lapel, put it in my arm, or put my arm here. I like my elbow right against her sternum, okay? Right against the sternum. If I curl, they get some chest pressure here, some compression. But you don't want to be flat, you want to be sideways, right? Yeah. And that gives me that, okay? If they see that and they start fighting, I pull this across. Look, I'm going to fold my bicep over the tricep. I can hug here, and now I apply the pressure, okay? So, same choke. It's the Bravo choke, all right? Lapel, boom. I'm under. I'm going for this. She's going to try to block. I pull this across. I'm going to use my chest pressure so that way I'm not using any strength. And just to secure everything, I like to grab this whole gi mess that's been folded up back here, and then just, the motion is just this. Same as the other chokes, pulling my elbow past my rib. You think of it like starting on a lawnmower, right? So if you're with a partner or you have a dummy, let's try that. Okay?
Right? Come here, let me choke you.
You want to try it?
Yeah, of course, I'm gonna choke you. Okay.
Do this, pull this instead.
I love it. That's beautiful.
I see hands raised up. Arsenio, hold on, let me unmute you. Okay.
Okay, it's hard. It's a little harder to see because it's the black on black gi.
Yeah.
When you're on the side, are you reaching under the arm when you're passing the gi?
You can. You don't have to.
Is it under or over?
Okay. So.
Can you get to the? If you could go to the red mat, I think that's further enough because you're cut off when you guys get. Yeah.
Is that good?
Better. Yep.
Okay. So I'm passing this lapel, her top lapel. So I want an underhook and I want to go under her head, right?
Right.
So I'm passing the top lapel as I reach under her head, and I'm chest pressuring her down because I want her flat. Then I pass the knee to the other side. And I make sure that's tight from her, the crease of her armpit, pec, under the armpit, and even under the lat. It's all very tight, no extra space. Okay. I got it to the other side. Now I'm kind of giving and taking. I'm going to let her pressure up. Now I could, if she gets an underhook, I could overhook this. I see I put some pressure and it makes her want to take it out because it affects her elbow, like hyperextends the elbow. Because the wrist on the hip and then that pressure, right? I don't have to. I can put my forearm right against her chest and then pass the gi to my hand. Okay? Can you turn sideways? Because there's a lot of pressure. So I give her enough room sideways so that I can grab the piece again. So I'm still grabbing. I'm still grabbing that.
It is on full screen. He doesn't have.
Yeah. So here and here. And then if that comes over, that's when I pull that one.
Right.
Makes
Okay.
sense? So I don't have to have the underhook, but a lot of times, or the overhook, but a lot of times they are going for it. That's what I show in class, but I'm showing you now that you don't need that. A lot of people do have an issue with that when I'm teaching it, but what I'm saying is I'm trying to teach her to get the underhook when I'm teaching class, and here we're just going a little off the book, you know?
No, that's fine. I just trying to figure out, which way it was going. All right.
Yeah, with the blue on black on black. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Excellent.
Just showing off my rash guard now. Okay. Alex had a question.
That's not important.
You're good? You got it? Okay. Lower hand.
You got the question?
Lower hand. Yep, we're good. Anyone else? Jamie, you good?
You got it?
Okay. Just thumbs up on that. Okay. So collar, lapel, Bravo style. I could do that from the guard too. So I'm going to show that from the guard just so you guys can see it. So back up. So yeah. So from the guard. So I would do the same thing. Clear the arms, bringing her down, open my feet real quick and close it again. I open my feet just so I can pull this gi out. Otherwise your legs kind of hold it in. Keep your hands everywhere. So now I pass the lapel to the other side. And remember, I'm like holding her down. Okay? Now this hand, as I let her up, goes right where I want it. Right? Going for this choke. This is what we were talking about when Alex had his question. Now she starts trying to defend it, and you're like slapping hands and stuff because she's trying to block me. I get some sleep control, and I pull it across. Now, for some better leverage, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open my guard, I'm going to stretch my hips out, and I'm going to sit my chest right against her tricep. It's just like the standing in base position. See my foot? It's like I'm ready to stand in base, and my chest is right strong against her tricep. Got my chest up. I usually take in a deep breath just to have extra pressure against the tricep. And now I pull my right arm like I'm starting the lawnmower, and I got my tap. Okay? So it's the same choke. Same principle as all 5 or 6 that we went over. Coming under. Okay? Go for this. They defend. Pull the sleeve across, shrink, and sit up. That part needs to be a little bit quicker. Okay? Now I pull the right arm and I get my tap.
You don't even have to go over the head.
What's that?
You don't have to reach over to close it.
Oh, I can. She's like, oh no. Okay. So I pull this across. She's saying I didn't need to go over. I can also, instead of being here, reach over and grab the belt. And then I can finish my choke. And that's going to keep her from posturing out and getting away, right? That's going to keep my chest against her easier because I've created an extra thing to immobilize her to keep her from posturing. So good point. Yeah. Who's that? Jason. Okay. You have a question, Jamie? Hold on. Okay.
All right, so I think you just answered it, but I want to be clear. Usually when you're in guard, you don't want to extend your hands up because they could take it and do an arm bar, correct?
If you're in their guard
If
or my position?
if she is in your guard and you reach out to do the poke, then is it because you're pulling her to you that keeps her from getting your arm to do an arm bar?
Okay.
Am I wrong?
Yeah, so it's okay. So from here, she cannot armbar me because she needs her legs to be around my arm, right? One leg over my head and one leg over my body. So she won't be able to armbar me. If I go here, right, here, she still can't armbar me.
Okay, you're right. The guard and the mount mix.
Right. Yes. So now, if she has mount, that's when I got to worry. Because now she has nothing stopping her legs from whipping around my head.
Okay. Okay.
Yep.
Thank you. I
Yep.
forgot.
No problem. Anyone else? No.
That's it? One?
Juan, it looks like he
What are
froze.
you guys doing? That's one hand he's doing.
Oh, there he is. He can hear us.
Okay.
Oh, he just changed his camera view, that's all. So he's doing the choke, and Alex is doing the choke still. You good with that one? I can hear you. You good with that?
I like that. I've never tried that. I like that. I'm going to put
like that one?
on my list.
Yeah, it's a good one.
What's that called? What's that called?
It's most commonly called the Bravo choke. B-R.
Bravo.
Yeah, like Bravo, but with a B, like Brian. B-R-A-B-O. That's when you use the lapel and their own shoulder,
Hi, Kevin.
right?
You said with a B as in boy or B
Yes.
as in?
B as in boy, all
Okay.
B's. B-R-A-B-O.
We've done the Bravo choke, but it was a slightly different variation from that. I've never seen that one. That was interesting.
It's usually shown in the top half guard, like the first one that I did. But yeah, pretty much the principles is the same, and it can be applied from all the different positions, and that's what I'm trying to kind of trying to show, you know. So it can be showed. It can be done from mount, from guard, right? You could do it with the lapel, with the collar, with your own hands, right? We have the baseball bat choke is also the same thing. So let me show that. So here in bottom. And let me unmute one. All right, so the baseball bat choke is pretty much the same thing. From knee on belly, my hand position is just going to be a little bit different. It's like I'm holding a baseball bat, or some would call it the samurai choke, because it's like the way you would hold a samurai sword. My thumb goes in the near side, my side. My 4 fingers go in the far away side. So this wrist bone now is on her neck, and this wrist bone is on the other side, here, okay? So there's no cross collar. We didn't make an X yet. But I need to make that X to be able to put pressure on the neck. So actually what I'm gonna do is spin north-south. So it's kind of like a knee slice pass. I'm gonna do that over her bicep. So I slide my knee by her ear, and then, I don't know how good you'll be able to see this, but now I'm gonna spin my knee, my other knee, to the other side of her ear. So I'm right here, straddling both sides of her head. Yep. So now it's spinning. So we're here. I spin, right? I'm gonna put my ear on her belly. So I don't want to bend my arms yet. She shouldn't feel any choke pressure yet. I want to put my head all the way down by her belt, like that. She hasn't tapped. Now I pull my elbows past my ribs. That's where I get the choke. So we created the X when I spun around. There's the X, right? And now when I pull, I'm getting that pressure on both sides of her neck. And that's a baseball bat choke. It's just different grips, but the principles are the same. We've applied pressure, usually with our wrists, into her neck, but sometimes with the shoulder, right? Never really with the lapel. You don't see a lot of jokes where I just do this. It would work, but I'm using a lot of strength trying to pull it against her neck, right? So we get our wrists there, and a little bit of wrist pressure is usually all we need, but then we have all the strength of pulling our elbows past our ribs. On all of these chokes, they look the same, right? Everyone want to try that one? Baseball bat choke. It's not the only way to do it. Also, there's other ways to do it. We could do it from underneath as well. But let's try it from the mount or knee on belly.
Knee on belly.
Yeah, do knee on belly. It's the easiest one.
4 fingers here. 1 from the top. Yeah. You got it right.
Good, Alex. So your thumb, Juan, his thumb is correct on the near side, but on the far side, you need 4 fingers underhand. So your first thumb that's close to you goes in. That was right. But your other hand, 4 fingers are going to go in. Then you spin around the head. So your left hand is right. Turn your right hand underhand. Your right arm, yes. And dig that as deep as you can. Right. Try to touch the tag in the back. Yep. And now, like your hand should be on the mat, balanced on the mat, and then you spin. Yep. Head down by his groin, and then pull. Yep. You almost got it. So it looks to me that it wasn't deep enough, and that's why he's not tapping as quickly that you might expect. Looks like it. How'd that feel, Juan?
Oh, it felt great.
Okay, it's hard to tell because the screen's a little delayed, so I can't tell like how quick you tapped or if it was right away.
Let's just say my eyes are watery.
Okay.
That's pretty good.
That's good. What time is it? 6:12. Okay. That's kind of what I wanted to go over for the gi chokes. Unmute. Okay, he muted himself. Okay. That's kind of what I wanted to go over for the chokes. There's other things that have the same idea, and I guess I can run through it real fast. Maybe we'll go over it more in the week, the different things, but just to give you an idea of how this applies to other areas. So we have the chokes. We can also use the sit-out motion, right? So we have a sit-out. That's where I step out to the side. Step out to the side. My arm comes up. I kick through. And then what I do after really just depends on the situation. I might turn in, which some people think of as forward. I might turn out. I might go the other way. I might do what's called a switch. So those are some things that I'm going to go over. I might do the Peterson move, right? They're all started out with a sit-out. I might stand up, okay? So the sit-out, the purpose of the sit-out in these situations that I just described is simply just to get your hip out from under the guy and get away. I might do it to spin behind them because I went for a shot and they sprawled. That's how we kind of think of it from the warm-up, right? I do a double leg. She sprawled, and then we practice our sit-out, right? But she could sit out to get away from me, right? Standing in base, that is the opposite motion of the sit-out, right? Sit out, reverse, stand in base, sit out. So the sit-out is another movement that we use, and we could do sit out. They're going to follow us, so we can use that to set them up for rolls. We can do what's called a switch. So I sit out, mainly to get my hips out. She wants to follow me because she doesn't want me to turn and get away. I might switch behind her. So we'll go over that. We have some sweeps that are very similar in nature, and they all come from, they're the same sweep, but in different guards, right? X guard, De La Hiva, spider, leg lasso, they all have a very similar sweep. So if you learn that sweep, it doesn't matter what guard I put you in, you're going to be able to perform it. The back take, there's a back take series that is very similar in every single guard that you're going to see. And so that's another principle. If you can understand the back take, it doesn't matter if you've seen the spider guard one or not, you're going to be able to figure it out because it's the same way, just from a different guard. And so learning some of these principles are going to help you to learn jiu-jitsu better and faster, and even apply it to positions or movements that you haven't been taught yet. And so I guess that's my goal this week, is to show things like this where you can apply it, and I'll give examples of, well, here are the different moves. And so you can start to see what that overlying principle is and how they're all the same. And then you can start exploring other positions and movements, or even when you're rolling, say, well, I wonder if it would work here. And you just try it out, right? And you might be surprised, like you pull off a move that you've never done in a live roll because you understand that principle, right? That one thing. Things like not letting your arm cross the center line of your body, right? Not reaching past their center line, whether that's vertically or horizontally. Head position, staying square to the mat. There's so many principles. Maintaining 3 to 4 points of contact when you have guard. Controlling the 4 corners of their body when you're on top. These are the kinds of things that I want to try to go over this week, and see if that's, stems any questions out of there. That's my goals. If anybody has any questions, let me know. Like I said, oh, I see Tony's on there. All right, hold on. Alex.
Alex, tell me.
Okay, so from knee on belly to the baseball bat choke.
Yeah.
The inner arm, this one. What's a good way to clear that? Because I get stuck here, they're grabbing and stopping me from spinning.
From your first grip or the spin?
The spin.
The spin.
So I got the grips, and this is the inside arm is blocking me.
Yeah. So it's not nice.
Sorry, Rita.
Yeah. Okay. So his question is, after I've already gotten these grips, and honestly, these are pretty easy grips to get. Once I go knee on belly, they try to block that, right? So these happen pretty easy. But then they know, if they know the baseball bat choke, they know you want to spin, and they start trying to stop you. I'm going to throw my shin right over the bicep. I pin it. Now I can spin. Clear. Right?
You knee slice the arm.
Yeah, you knee slice, just like you would do a knee slice pass over the inner thigh, you're going to do a knee pass slice over her bicep.
Thank you, Alex. I will see you in the mat. We have what? Maybe a few weeks, but don't worry, we're coming back. We're coming back.
iPhone. Tony raised his hand, I think.
Yeah.
Hey, Tony, I can hear you.
No, I was just saying hi.
Oh, hey, what's up? Good to have you here.
Yeah, thank you.
There's a mute and an unmute, so if you want to talk, just unmute yourself.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Anyone else have? I see Arsenio. Go ahead. Oh wait, there we go. Okay.
I think we're good, right?
Yeah.
I just wanted to know where Alex got his dummy. It doesn't look as lifelike as Juan's, but I was just curious because I don't have a partner. That's awesome.
It was, believe it or not, it was $60 on Amazon.
No, okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
My dummy, I can assure you of one thing. My dummies in college, he's cost me a lot more money than his dummy.
Maybe what, 18 years?
And the other part of it is my dummy is eating me out of house and home.
So I'll stick with the Amazon one.
Yeah, no, the Amazon one's much better.
That's funny.
Awesome.
Jamie, any questions?
No, she's taking notes.
Good job, Jamie.
Can I recommend maybe during the week sometime we probably add some defenses against the arm bar and other defensive moves to combat what I constantly get myself in trouble in?
Yeah, I could tie that into the principles. There's a few, I call them like little rules that you want to follow, and they'll keep you out of a lot of potential submissions. You know, we always laugh about when the coach says, hey, how do you get out of this? Don't get in it. But there's some principles, things that you could follow that are going to help you to not get in some of these positions. Just for an example, for triangles, always keeping both hands in the guard or both hands out. That's going to keep you from getting triangled. It's easier being said than done because they're going to be trying to force that to happen, where you only have one hand in or the other out, or you're trying to pass the guard and so many things are going on, you might get caught with one hand in and one out. But the more you can focus on that as one of your rules that you follow, the less you'll get triangled. Just as an example, keeping our elbows tight for the arm bar. I'll go over some of those too. So we'll do like some principles of defense, some rules to follow. And that's a good one to take notes on because that's something that it's less of a step-by-step and more of just, hey, make sure I do these things all the time. And what I would do when you do get back to the gym and you do start rolling again, don't try to do everything that we teach all at once. Try to take one thing at a time. Maybe one day you're like, I'm just going to keep my elbows tight all the time. Or I'm just going to focus on always having both hands in or both out. Or I'm just going to focus on not letting my arm pass our midline, right? And just have one thing that you focus on each roll until you don't need to think about it anymore. And then you can add another one. And then you add another and add another until you're doing all of the things that we talked about. Anybody else have any questions? We want to see Juan go against his son?
No holds barred.
Yeah, I totally want to see that. That's what I signed up for.
Yeah.
That's exactly why I'm here.
What is, I've read somewhere that the rule of belt ranking age is, what is it? A belt per, is it 10 or 20 years?
Okay, so it's been repeated and changed. So I've heard different things. I believe originally it was, so the idea is that when you roll against somebody much younger or much bigger than you, that obviously it's more difficult and that skill can only take you so far. And so what someone came up with, and I would quote the person if I knew who it was, but what someone came up with, may have been one of the Gracies, I might be wrong, but they said that you might be a brown belt, but for every 10 years the person is younger than you, you'd have to either drop yourself a belt or add a belt to them, right? To kind of make it comparable. So if I'm 40 and I'm going against, or let's say, let's see me, I guess, 40-year-old black belt, and I go against a 30-year-old brown belt, that would mean we're pretty much even, right? Now, if he was 20 and he's a purple belt, that would put us pretty much even, right? And so it's saying like, basically they're trying to say don't get too hard on yourself. If the person's way younger than you, it is going to be harder for you to win, right? Same thing with weight and size. So if the person is, because you could say the youth would make them faster, but if they're bigger, you might think they're stronger. So, and I think that weight was 20 pounds. So if the person is 20 pounds, you would do the same thing with 10 years of age. So if the 30-year-old was 20 pounds heavier than me, then maybe they were a purple belt, that would be even, right? And so it's trying to put that in perspective so people don't get too, it's really easy to get hard on ourselves and frustrated and get down on ourselves and our performance, especially when we're going against all ages and all weights and all skill levels. It's hard to, oh, Dave's got this, so it's translating. He can read what I'm saying. And he's like, yeah, I have that problem too. So like in Dave's case, he's the little guy, right? He's older and, you know, he has some disabilities that he's dealing with. He has some challenges. So
Wow, why don't you tell him how you really feel?
he can hear me. So for him to get down on himself is not the right thing because, you know, he's a blue belt that has, you know, challenges. And he's going to go against Jordan, come in here, and he's a young 20-year-old blue belt that used to wrestle. He's going to give him a hard time. They shouldn't be equal. They're not supposed to be equal. You know what I mean? Now, if Jordan took a ton of time off, years and years, and Dave got better and got to brown belt, now you start to compare it, right? And you start to say, well, you know, with these challenges, but my skill level is better, how am I going to compare to a 20-year-old that doesn't have these challenges, you know, or by then, 25, but doesn't have these challenges and hasn't been training? You know, now you can start to get a little more realistic, you know, and the only thing that we can change, so you hear about strength or speed and that technique is supposed to conquer all, and then you got the guy saying, no, strength matters. The reality is it all matters, right? Strength ties into it. Speed ties into it. Obviously, proper usage of that strength and speed, that can go into strategy, but technique, what can we control? Well, we all have genetic limitations, so we can get a certain amount of strength and we can try to improve our speed, but they can't be increased, I don't think, as exponentially as our technique can, right? And that's where the technique conquers all comes in. Obviously, an untrained strong person or untrained small person, I mean, it's not small but fast, they're definitely at a disadvantage to technique. But if they learn some technique, now those two things are going to factor in. And so what we need to do is just focus on what we can control. We can stay in shape. We can get a little stronger. We can hopefully get a little faster and better cardio. But the technique, that's what we can really improve. There's a huge, man, I can even get way better than I am. So, you know, we can all get better on our technique. You know, the strength, our physical limitations, those are a bit harder to control, you know. Obviously, we can do what we can. We have our, you know, capabilities and how strong we can get, how fast we can get. But, you know, technique, really, we can improve that. You know, that we can improve faster. So I forget what they're calling it too, but the age and the weight thing, that is supposed to help you feel a little more comfortable. But if you guys are anything like me, you know, I try not to let that hold me back, right? I still want to hang, right? I still want to have, I want to be 80, hoping that I can still handle the 20-year-olds when they come in, right? That's my goal. And that takes a certain game, a certain style. You know, we can't rely on our strength and speed if we're going to be able to do that, right? We need to be able to control the person with leverage and technique, because that's all we're going to have when we're older, right? And it's a marathon, it's not a sprint. So the guys coming in using all their strength and their speed, they're using a game that they're not going to be able to use when they're older, right? I did all that. I was a wrestler when I started out. And even as a wrestler, when I first started jiu-jitsu, I had a 14-year-old beat my butt with jiu-jitsu, you know? He used technique, and all I had was my wrestling technique and some strength and speed. But it wasn't enough to not get tapped, you know? Of course, I took him down and I controlled him, you know, for the most part until he got out, until I couldn't control him, and then he tapped me out, you know? So I learned pretty early on that that wasn't the only way to fight, and that the moves in jiu-jitsu were working. I've seen 155-pound kids and guys flipping 230-pound guys from their butt, flipping them over their head. So if they could do that, I could do that at my size, you know, and I wanted to learn that. And that's technique. I realized that, you know, just imposing your will, which is what wrestlers are taught to do, imposing your will does not always work. there's other ways to do it. And technique, that's something that, I focused on a lot more. And I focused on, when I started, I was thinking, when I was on my back, for example, I know how I would get out of this because nobody could pin me in wrestling. I know I can get out of this, but that's not what I was taught in jiu-jitsu. So how would the jiu-jitsu person get out of this situation? And then if I was in a position that I didn't know the jiu-jitsu way, I would ask my coach at the end of class, hey, I was in this position. As a wrestler, I would do this, but I didn't because I wanted to do the jiu-jitsu way. What is the jiu-jitsu way to get out of that position? And they would teach me the technique, and then I would always just resort to that technique instead. I pretty much, until purple belt, acted like I didn't know wrestling anymore, and I just focused on the jiu-jitsu part of it. And I did that because I saw judo guys, they would start and have real good success early on. They'd usually get around to their blue belt, and then I would see a plateau, and I would see new guys that never did anything eventually get as good as them and then pass them. And I look at the judo guys and just trying to figure out why. And I realized it's because the two sports are so similar that they were getting a lot of success with their judo and they wouldn't learn the jiu-jitsu way. They would do keisugatami, for example, holding their head when you're supposed to have the underhook. Because in judo, they hold their head and they could get a pin. But in jiu-jitsu, there's no pinning per se, you don't from pinning. So eventually that jiu-jitsu guy would get out, get their back and tap them out. And so they weren't progressing, they'd end up plateauing. And I didn't want that to happen to me as a wrestler. And so I decided, you know what, pretend you don't know wrestling. What would the jiu-jitsu guy do? And it turned out that it was a lot of technique and less imposing your will on people, So I hope that helps.
Any questions?
Yeah, more questions?
That's a great explanation. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Scopino.
Oh, God, I didn't realize I wasn't muted.
Yeah.
Is it, can I ask about a different technique or
Yeah.
are you still?
Yeah, no problem.
Do we talk about Kimura from top half guard?
Uh-huh. What about it?
Exactly.
I'll show you how I like to get it.
Okay.
Okay. So let's try this way.
Where are you?
At the other side.
There we go.
All right. You said half guard?
Yeah, top half.
Okay. So here's what I like to do. So this, Tony's on here, right? Are you sure you want him to see this?
Tony's here?
Tony's here.
Yeah.
Don't show it.
You cannot see it.
Tony's
I'm
muted.
watching very closely.
Oh, there he is. So, bottom person, they want to get an underhook, right? They want to turn on their side and get the underhook. Okay. So, I have to be aware of the back rolling sweep. You know what I'm talking about, Alex?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I have to be aware of the back rolling sweep when I do this, but usually if they're going for the underhook, I don't have to worry so much about it. So hands low, hands coming for the underhook. What I'm going to do, I want her flat. So I'm going to throw my body weight this way. I'm going to throw my arm kind of in this manner. What I'm trying to do is put weight on this shoulder. Okay. So I go here and I switched my hip. I dropped my hip. This foot is posted and this knee is up. My foot's already walking close to the butt. The shoulder, you see, is in the crook of my elbow here, and I keep it tight. I can even hold the belt if I want. And then remember, she's looking for the underhook. I got to keep my weight this way because what I want her to do is reach back for the wrist. If I go like this, she just keeps coming up on top. Okay, so I keep my weight this way, reach back, try to get the underhook, reach back looking for the wrist, and then I push this to the ground. Okay, from here, again, you don't want to muscle this, but try to push the elbow up. You want that 90-degree bend, right? It can be okay down here too, but if I can get up a little bit, that's good for me. And then bend the elbow. I should be able to roll my wrist up to the other wrist. Okay. From here,
Hey, Coach, I don't know if we're still unmuted, but you're better off if you go back to the red mat.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I see I'm blocked.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll just start it again from here. So she's getting the underhook. I want to throw my weight onto that chest and wrapping around the arm as I switch my hip. Don't switch your hip too early. Oh, hold on. It's just that I can't see. Something happened. Okay, now I can see. Okay. All right, so throw my chest, arm wraps around the shoulder, switching my hips, not too quickly. I don't want to get swept that way. And my foot's out there to post. My knee walks up because I want to threaten the pass as well. Hand goes to the wrist. She's trying to get an underhook. Hand goes to the wrist. I still lean forward, staying square to the mat. That's something we're going to talk about. Staying square to the mat means my body never does this 90 degrees because that means I'm on backwards. My chest is always facing or square to the mat. So hand to the wrist, pin, bending the elbow. Can you see good? Can you see the elbow? All right, roll the hand to the wrist. Now from here, I could get the Kimura. I could push this way, and I could get it, okay? We like to do some things to secure it without, if I do this, she can keep sitting up into me, and I could go here maybe. I catch the half guard, right, and continue putting the pressure. That's a possibility, but now she's on top. She gains a little bit of leverage. What I like to do, once I get here, is I'm gonna put my head, actually, there's a few things I can do. The less acrobatic way would be this hand that was holding my wrist, I wanna fake like I'm still holding her arm. So I kind of karate chop down towards her forearm as this hand slides to the elbow. Yeah, set out. Now I just raise her shoulder. It's a lot for her to sit up. So I'm holding like this, okay? My elbow touches her elbow and my other hand touches my forearm. So I'm here and I can put the pressure, okay? If that doesn't work, I can go back to the Kimura. I don't lose it. I'm gonna put my forehead on the mat and I'm gonna walk my foot out in a big circle until my knee can go under her head. I'm gonna scoop it up. And now I have to think like I wanna make her do a forward roll. Keep your half guard. So I roll this way, trying to lock my feet the whole time. And if you look, her hand already came out, but her back is rounded, so she's not in a strong position, and it makes it really easy for me to finish that. Okay? It looks fancy, but it's not too hard. Okay? The hardest part is stepping around her head without like kneeing her. In a match, you wouldn't really need to worry about that. Okay, so we're here. I'm trying to stop this underhook, but I can't stay up here. So I'm gonna put my weight right away towards her shoulder, and now I scoop my hip. Walk my foot close to the butt. I'm already looking for the wrist, pushing it to the mat. Punch my hand through it and grab my own wrist. Okay, now we can like bend the elbow and tighten it up. Make my little chop motion as I slide my hand, and now I can push, right? We could go normally. It's a little harder, she can sit up easier. But if I get this lock, it just gets tighter quicker. Yeah. Now, the last way, if none of that works, we're just gonna, if we really want that Kimura, I put my forehead down, walk my foot. Just make a big circle. You'll know when it passed the head, and you scoop up. As I roll, I'm trying to lock my feet, and you see the hands already out.
Now it's tighter.
Yeah.
So
That's how I like moving my Kimuras from top.
after you roll, are you locking up your feet at the end?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
okay.
if they can't lock, I'm continually trying to lock them as I go through the Kimura.
My head, my shoulders, my back is staying with between the legs. So if as I get out, my shoulder is pinned down.
That's the one I was wondering about. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Coach. Sorry, Rita.
That's when you're stuck in the half guard.
Yeah.
If I'm in side control, I would do it a little bit different. Yeah, but with the leg already in the half guard, I like to step over the head.
Okay. Thank you, Coach.
Yep. Anyone else?
Questions?
Go back to muting myself.
All right, guys.
You good on that? Let's see. So hopefully that helped. Hopefully,
I
yeah,
have one question.
Juan.
Are you logging us, or is this time considered not training time?
This is something that I'm trying to do to provide value to you guys, because you guys are supporting the school by maintaining your memberships, which I really appreciate. And, you know, obviously we all want the school to be here when this is said and done. I think I'm prepared for this to be like a 3-month thing at least. Hopefully it doesn't take that long, but I'm prepared for that. So I figured that you guys would appreciate some value during this time, something besides other people's instructionals and other people's videos, something from me to help keep you guys going. And as you know, I know that I think about jiu-jitsu all the time, 24/7. You guys probably do too. It's very addicting, and it's like, what am I going to do when I can't roll? Obviously, we'd appreciate and prefer to be rolling every day in the gym with, you know, our friends and everything, or acquaintances, Arsenio. But
no, I guess.
So this is the next best thing. So this does not cost you anything. I don't like to think of this as like a supplement, or like to think of it as like a supplement for your training, but like definitely not a replacement.
Okay.
It's just something I felt like I needed to do for you guys, that you'd appreciate it, and actually it's really fun. I actually like this. This is cool.
Yeah.
Watching videos on YouTube is one thing, but being able to interact.
Yeah,
ask
it's
questions,
different. And I can see you doing the move. Like we can
Right.
see each other do the move. This is like doing a private. I was talking to Alex about this. I could see doing private lessons for people who live in a different state, and they just get with their you know, their son or husband, wife, or training partners, and do private lessons like this way. I can definitely see this happening, because I can see you guys doing the moves. I can kind of, for the most part, correct. The only thing I can't do, sometimes I get hands-on and I'll actually move you guys' foot or your hand where it should be. That's the only thing I can't really do. But I just gotta be a little more patient and make sure that I wait until we figure out the proper movement verbally, right? But yeah, this is something that at least during this time, I plan to keep doing every single weekday during the week until this is over. And then after it's over, I don't know, maybe we could do something like this, you know. But it's hard, because the time that you guys would train is the time you kind of designated to train. And I wouldn't want to replace an actual class with this. But, you know, and then those off times, you know, you'd probably be watching a normal video. But maybe, I don't know, maybe we can figure out how to work this in. But yeah, I think I can see this as another way to interact and teach jiu-jitsu. And maybe we can do like a subscription-based way. If I did something like that, the members would have obviously free access, but then non-members that did not live in the area could also join in. I think that would be something that is an option, like something that might be worth doing, you know. It's just finding the right time to do it, you know, maybe on a Saturday and an off time that most people don't have their open mats or classes, maybe right after one, or maybe even right before one, who knows. But I think
Or somebody gets caught at work or something like that, you know, maybe they can, you know, maybe they could
I
watch
could
a
coach
live
them how
class.
to beat up their boss.
Oh no, like a live class. You know what I
Look
mean?
at you.
Put them in a double leg.
Training.
Jamie, you did not hear that, Jamie. No, then.
What about that? Oh, you're saying if they get caught at work and they can't make it to class?
Correct. Yeah.
You meant if they got caught watching the video during work.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Or homesick, something like
Playing
that. Who knows?
solitaire, they're watching my video.
Very cool.
Yeah, I've seen a few guys are doing this. Most people are doing it for their kids' classes, which works really well because there's a lot of solo drills. They just need to burn off energy. And with kids, we're just trying to teach basically for them how to be better people and how to prepare them for the future in different sports, maybe not jiu-jitsu, or maybe it is jiu-jitsu down the road, but just keep them from getting burned out and have fun with athletics, right? But with the adults, we're in it, right? We're trying to learn and get better and get all the details and find that one thing that's going to change our game. And so I don't see a lot of people doing this for their adults. I've only seen a couple people. And the one that I liked, he was doing it kind of like this. He was showing less question and answer, more his game and like how he liked to roll, which is still good, but less about what they wanted to know. He would like let them answer questions at the end. So I want this to be really interactive. I think that's the benefit to it, is it's really interactive. We can, you know, sit and chat like this and really go into more details. Since we're not rolling and we're not expecting like, oh, you know, they just keep talking and I just want to roll. Since that's not a thing with this, we can actually spend the time, which usually is reserved for when there's only a couple of us here in the gym. We just had a class and there's a few guys left over just chilling. And that's when we get to go over little things like this. But these little things are the things that make the biggest difference sometimes. You know, these little questions that maybe Alex had a question and you didn't even know to ask it, right? And now you heard that question, you didn't even know that was like something, and now you got this new little nugget, you know? So Alex is beating up his dummy.
Yeah, he's dedicated. He's gonna be a beast when he comes back to the mat.
Yeah, man. Hopefully this does not take 3 months. Hopefully it's like a 1 month thing. Hopefully even less, but you know,
Maybe next week.
I doubt it's only going to be a 2 week thing, and you know, we just need to make the best of it and do what we can in the meantime, and keep ourselves sane.
We'll be here every day, Monday to Friday. So
Monday through Friday.
Awesome.
Yeah, and then so I set this one for 5:30 every day, and then next week I'll just set it again for another 5 days until we're able to get back, and then if you know we figure out a way to do these onlines more and have a like a set date for it or time, I think it'd be good to do.
yeah.
We can record them. I think these are really good sessions, and I think something I want to try to do during this time as well is it's a really really difficult, like time-consuming thing, but our website, the Zen Planner, the app that we have, has the ability to log the techniques. I would probably stick to the belt test techniques. It has the ability to log the techniques. I can attach a video to those entries, and it's basically a database. Log those entries into the database with video, and then I can put for each person their belt requirements that they need to meet the next belt, and link all those videos that are attached to that belt. And so you can see what you need to know rather than that little piece of paper we have. You can go online to your own account, see what you need to know, check off what you need to know. And then there's a way to select like, hey, this week we're going over technique, blah, boom, boom, let's say 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then you can log like how many of each technique you did. You could put notes like, I had trouble with this one, or this one was easy, or I need to work on this, you know, and so it has that in there as well. All prefaced with getting those entries into the database. So I'm going to try to start entering those in, use this time to enter that in, make videos for each of the techniques if we don't have them already, and just try to link all that up and get that put into there. Because I think it's an awesome thing. It's just very cumbersome to put it all in there. It's like being a data entry person, just entering all that in. And it'd be different if it was just listing them, like this technique, that technique, this technique, that technique. But each entry has its own page. So you have to go, okay, click here, put it in, put this description on that tab, do the video, now save it. And that was one. It's not like just write it out and then put a video on it. It's a little bit more effort, but I think this positive thing right now is having the time to do that where I didn't before. So that'll be good too. And then maybe even do a DVD on it since I'll have all the videos already. Make a DVD and, you know, you guys will have a DVD of each belt test.
That'll be good.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
What happened?
Thank
Coughing?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Dave wants to know who's coughing. What's it say? Coffee? I don't know.
Coffee, coffee.
Coffee, coffee, coffee.
We're messing with Dave's phone. All right, guys.
Dave's reading a transcript. If you guys want the transcript, I'll have Dave send it to you.
It's pretty cool.
I don't think anybody in here reads.
Yeah, he reads everything.
So
I read enough at work. Thank you.
That's funny. All right, guys.
Thank you.
So, I'm going to stop.
thank you, Coach. Thanks, Coach Rita.
Yeah, no problem. I hope to see everybody. Try to get the word out. Let them know that this, if you felt like this was worthwhile, get the word out. They should get on. You know, we know everybody's at home for one reason or another. They're not able to get on. Maybe we can motivate them to get on here with us. The more people
Well, I think
get questions, like I said, the more nuggets we might not have thought
Yeah.
about that we'll get to hear someone ask.
I know Alex likes that he doesn't do warm-ups.
Oh yeah, and you
Actually,
don't,
I don't do warm-ups during class.
I think I can set up something for the warm-ups. I don't know. Let me think about it.
Rita had to do warm-ups. She did the kids class. She did exercises for 45 minutes.
I'll do a little bit of warm-ups tomorrow.
Okay. I'm
So,
gonna find
are
out
we,
something.
are we starting Muay Thai right now?
Some stationary.
Muay Thai, right? You,
Muay Thai starts now?
yeah, right?
You got
Maybe I can get Dave to do a Muay Thai one.
There you go.
Single solo. All right, Jamie. I see you tomorrow at 4:30.
Bye, guys.
Rowdy.
See you
All
tomorrow.
right, everybody. See you tomorrow.
Thank you.
See you tomorrow.
Thanks,
Thank
Coach
you.
Ryan. Thanks, Coach Rita.
You're
Yes.
welcome. Thank you.
How do we get out of here? Leave meeting. Okay.
I'll end
How
the
do we
meeting.
get
Don't
out of
worry.
here? We'll keep you.